Gray Jr., DOC number 218464. You are a second-class offender, indecent behavior with juvenile, carnal knowledge of juvenile. Sentenced on July 7th, 2015. Count 1, 10 years, Louisiana Department of Corrections. Count 2, 7 years, Louisiana Department, to run concurrent. May 21st, 2019 is parole date. Not eligible for good time. Full term date is not May 21st, 2024. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Please answer, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Mr. Day. How are you?
All right, sir.
Tell me what you would have to say to your victim if you could speak to him today.
That I was sorry for what I did. I should have been the grown up in that when that took place, and that I really am sorry to him and his family. This shouldn't have never happened. Yeah.
Now, when the police were investigating, your victim was a runaway.
Yeah.
And the police said that, or one of the neighbors said that you always had little boys around your house, particularly runaways. Is that true?
No, sir. No. My roommate was gay. I worked graveyards, and he had guys that would come over. So I never did have anybody come over in the daytime. I usually work sleep during the daytime because I work graveyards.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody that would come over was coming over to see him, not me.
What was the nature of the contact you had with this victim?
Well, it all started back when he was 12 years old. Him and his foster mom wasn't getting along. So I went up to juvenile detention, and his juvenile officer had put in a stipulation on his paperwork that if him and his stepmama didn't get along, he would come stay at my house for a little while. And then she got mad at me because she found out my roommate was gay. So she stopped it. And I haven't seen him in 3 or 4 years, I guess. And then he just showed up in my doorstep one day. I told him he couldn't stay. He said, well, my mom kicked me out. I don't have no place to go. I said, you can't stay here. And he kept on saying he didn't have a place to stay. And so I let him stay. I mean, I shouldn't have. That's why I said this is some of the time I thought I was doing something good. And
Well, Mr. Leday, you didn't get charged with letting a kid stay at your house.
No.
Did you?
No, sir. No, sir.
And did you plead guilty to these charges?
Yes, sir. Because I didn't want to.
Carnal knowledge of a juvenile doesn't have anything to do whether they're staying at your house or not, does it?
No, sir. It sure doesn't. No, sir. No, sir.
So you kind of glossed over that part, right?
Well, I was coming to it. I was coming.
Were you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably took too long.
It sure took you a while to get there because we were back at, you made a mistake letting him stay at your house, maybe. That was your big mistake.
Yeah, that was my big mistake.
Well, no, it wasn't, Mr. Leday.
Yeah.
Your big mistake was when you abused this child.
Yes, sir. Yes, that was my big.
I don't have any other questions for Mr. Leday.
Miss Wise.
Mr. Leday, good morning.
Good morning.
I saw with you being seen regularly by the psychiatrist. What's going on?
Yeah. I really couldn't tell you exactly what it is. Just having anxiety attacks.
Okay. Do you know what the diagnosis is?
Well, no, ma'am. I sure don't.
Okay. But it is helping.
Yes, ma'am. She got me on some medication.
Oh, okay. You're on some medications. Okay. And you're taking it every day.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's good to hear. I do want to inform you as a part of this process, we reach out to the law enforcement community where you were convicted to get their opinion about early release. And as like I said, there's nothing you can do about it. But I just want to inform you that there is some law enforcement opposition. And one of the law enforcement officials indicated that you had a history of sexual related offenses as one of the basis for their denying opposing your early release.
Yes, ma'am.
You served about 5 of the 10-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's 5 years.
You had some medical concerns in 2016. What was going on?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Medical concerns in 2016. What was going on?
I have neuropathy, high blood pressure, glaucoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a lot of, I'm trying to think of.
I'm, okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's all I had, Chairman.
All right. Mr. Lede, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
We didn't hear from the warden. We didn't hear from the warden.
Yeah, I was going, okay. Would the warden like to make a comment?
Yeah, he has zero programming. He lives in a cell block. His last write-up was in March 22nd of 2018. He's involved in nothing.
All right, thank you. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf, Mr. Lede?
Yes, sir, if I could. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. Especially to Mr. Jones, because I know he had asked me a question and I was just dragging it on. I'm just nervous. Okay, I've never been in this kind of trouble before. You know, you said that I had other charges like that, but I never was convicted of anything. The only thing I was convicted of was in '87. That was up in Minnesota. And that's the only other crime that I have. My problem is I try to help too much. I try to help people too much. And I think that's what my most problem is. But I just want to apologize to Mr. Jones for sure for not answering him efficiently as I should have. You know, because what I did was wrong. And like I said, I think about it every day. That's, you know, God said when he forgives your sins, he forgets it. Well, I can't forget my sin because I don't want to forget it, because I want to make sure I don't do it again. That way I can try to live the rest of my life as peaceful as possible.
All right,
Okay?
thank you. Now prepared to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Lede, we may be in the mercy business, but we are not necessarily in the forgiveness business.
Yes, sir.
And so that's not anything for us to concern ourselves with. I admit that I get extremely frustrated when sex offenders like yourself refuse to address their offense at all. And even now, when you were apologizing to me for not having done it, your explanation was that you just tried to help people too much. You tried to help people. You didn't plead guilty to helping people, Mr. Lede. You pled guilty to hurting somebody really badly, something he'll suffer with forever. For a fairly large number of reasons, including the report we were given by Warden Hooper and the reasons I gave, my vote is to deny your parole.
Ms. Jones? Ms. Wise?
Sir, I concur with Mr. Jones. My vote is to deny law enforcement opposition. You have lack of programs and the warden's comments.
Yeah, 2 votes to deny your parole. Also, I'm going to vote to deny your parole. You need programming, law enforcement opposition, victim opposition. 3 votes to deny your parole's been denied. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Kelsey?
Ma'am.
Seriously, when you think you've seen it all, these parole hearings show you something else. They show you something else. I really enjoyed Keith Jones' interview. We haven't seen a lot of him, and I know there have been a few interviews that I wasn't very crazy about, but I thought he handled this just wonderfully. And, you know, you try to, you hear so many different things. You hear so many different stories or excuses at these hearings, so many different final statements. This final statement, he actually thought that he could, and I apologize. I want to apologize most to the board member, most to Keith Jones. You My biggest mistake was giving too much. Are you kidding me? What did you just say? Even Miss Wise gave him a look of like, what did I just hear? The warden said it all. Another mic drop there by the warden. Loved it. He's in the cell block. He's done absolutely nothing. When you hear statements like that from the warden, it allows, I think it allows me to appreciate even more when the warden goes out of their way to say something nice, because that they won't hold back. If they'll speak their minds. What would you say to your victim? Sorry, I should have been the grown-up. They say that there's a lot of little boys running around your home. No, that's because of my roommate. I work the graveyard shift. I could go on a real rant, except that about the idea that he said that the juvenile parole board, I forget the title he used. He said it all started when he was 12, when he went to juvie, and his officer said that he could stay with me if he didn't want to stay with his mother. And I could go on around saying, how is that possible? The system failed him. The problem is that there's a really good chance he completely made that up. So it wouldn't be fair. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me at all if such a statement was made, because I think we've just seen how broken the system is. But at the same time, in this case, I think he could have, of course, just made that all up. A runaway goes to his house, then I guess 4 years later, so the boy is 16. And he said he wanted to stay there. And I said, you can't stay here. That was his response. You can't. But I let him. And my problem is that I was too nice. I was too giving. I shouldn't have done it. That was my mistake. And then Keith Jones says, you didn't plead guilty for letting a kid stay there. You were charged for carnal knowledge. That was your mistake. That was your mistake. And he's just never, you can read between the lines of what he's saying. And he's like, he starts off again by saying that I should have been the grown-up. He's blaming it as if that he was consensual, but he should have said no. He's saying that when he asked to stay, he should have never said yes, because it would have led to something. And what you're seeing is that he's not taking accountability for. He's not even identifying. I don't believe that he did anything wrong, and you hear that in the words that he's saying. Then, if you want to get a little crazy, to get jaded out, he says, I never want to forget any moment of this, in so many words. So that I can always, what he said, that just part, I was like, you know what, I think I believe that statement. You probably don't. And then he sums it up by saying, I'm especially sorry for Keith Jones. It's like, you're just clueless. But then let's take a step back and remember that who should we really be focusing on right now? And I think that that is the DA, the legal system that locked him up, that gave him 10 years. This wasn't his first offense. It was his second. I'm assuming the first one was similar in nature. He was investigated for other similar offenses they brought up, but just not charged or indicted. Maybe he was charged, but they dropped it. What do you think he's been doing? He's getting out in a year. What's going to happen then? He has 2 charges that he pled guilty to. One of them being carnal knowledge. He receives 10 years and 7 years, but to run concurrently. Why? It's just a 10-year sentence. He's getting released in 2024. And then what? I believe carnal knowledge can face up to life in prison in the statutes of Louisiana. And we have seen enough of these. There will be people say, well, they don't want to put the victim on the stand. They don't want to. And we have seen through hundreds and hundreds of hearings that it's just not that simple and not that true. They use that as an excuse. There are times where it's true, but there are also times where it's not. We had a case that we just covered where the victim was begging to go to trial, to sit on the stand, and the district attorney had a deal on the table for her stepfather, who was doing it to her since she was 9 years old, and they were going to give him 4 years of house arrest. And that deal was only taken off the table when the victim went to the news, the survivor, I want to say, went to the media and said that this district attorney is going to offer the deal. And the media went nuts. And they pulled the deal only then. 4 years house arrest. And then they ended up getting a plea deal, not going to court, only because the survivor realized that the district attorney simply didn't want to try it. And she realized that her back was against the wall. They were going to go to court without making any effort, and he might have won because of that. So she took a plea deal. But she had gone to the press. She had gone to the media. She had made statements. She had no problem. She wanted to get up and stand in front of him. And then the DA made a press release after the deal and said, we keep these criminals locked up. This deal is, and it's like, they're playing the constituency that votes them in. It's all a PR stunt. It's a game. Not all DAs. We've seen DAs that we can hug here that are just fantastic, but many of them don't care. It's simply about getting their dockets, emptying their workload, giving someone like this 10 years to just, now it's going to happen next year. What's going to happen next year in 2024 when he gets out? But this is why we do this. Our system can't change unless we're aware that there's a problem. And I think that watching this makes us very aware that there's a problem. And it's not necessarily to say, oh, wow, that there are evil people that exist, that there are people that have a lust for children. I think what our takeaway is that the system is broken, because we all know that evil exists. But now we can see that our system is broken and change must come. maybe this is a start. Information is power. With that, I'll let you